That's what election day is all about. And the biggest gun we got is called the ballot box. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. And to bring some new ones in, and they will start the show again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out.
Willie Nelson, if you don't like who's in there, vote him out. Well, welcome back to another edition of Turnout Tuesday. We're doing this every Tuesday from now until November 6th, 5 weeks away, to give you background and backing and backbone until Election Day. We're now just 5 weeks until one of the most consequential elections in our lifetimes. I want to begin today with Judge Kavanaugh and an update on the FBI investigation. There he is. Brett Kavanaugh, into sexual assaults against him, and sexual assault allegations, I should say. Last Thursday, we heard from Kavanaugh's accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, and what was one of the most compelling congressional testimonies, frankly, I have ever seen, facing down a panel of white male Republican senators who enlisted a female prosecutor to do their bidding. Ford herself was poised, articulate, clear, convincing. Nobody who witnessed her testimony and her responses could conclude that she failed to tell the truth. More than that, she radiated self-assured power. This is not somebody who is a professional politician or somebody who is used to kind of convincing the public or trying to tell the public anything. On the other hand, you got Brett Kavanaugh, who showed himself to be a vicious partisan, a kind of Trump-like figure, who feels entitled to do and say whatever he wants, who suspects left-wing plots against him, who refuses to take responsibility for his actions, who uses emotional bullying, intimidation to get his way. He delivered an indignant opening statement, you probably saw it, angrily cross-examining senators on the committee, and refused to call for an FBI investigation to clear his name. He was petty, evasive, hostile. As one senator described his demeanor, he probably would have been thrown out of his own courtroom. Now, the allegations about sexual harassment and abuse aside, after his performance last week, honestly, does anybody really expect him to be an unbiased member of the Supreme Court? I mean, he revealed himself. If you're somebody associated with the so-called left that Kavanaugh denounced, or someone who once served in, say, the Clinton administration or with the Clintons, who Kavanaugh accused of being behind a plot against him, or anyone who seeks impartial justice before the Supreme Court, you would have no confidence in Justice Brett Kavanaugh. There's also evidence that Kavanaugh repeatedly lied to the committee, misleading the Senate about his drinking in high school and college, ridiculous claims about raunchy references in his yearbook, which he didn't take any responsibility for, spinning misinformation about the claims of the people who Dr. Ford alleges were also at the party in question. Now, these lies, individually, they may seem small, but they are significant as a whole because they demonstrate a willingness to deceive the committee and are yet another reason why his nomination should be rejected. After Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona joined two other Republican senators, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, in wanting an FBI investigation into Ford's allegations, Mitch McConnell, eventually, do you like my caricature? Had no choice but to seek an FBI investigation. But now reports have emerged that Trump and McConnell have directed the FBI to conduct a limited investigation. And as of this hour, not even Dr. Ford has been contacted, as far as we know. And McConnell insists that there will be a vote on Kavanaugh this week, which means, by Senate rules, he'd have to file a motion for cloture tomorrow. The FBI would have to report the next day, Thursday. Senators would get, at most, a day to read that report, and then the vote would have to be this Saturday, if it's going to be this week. Look, this is why we have to keep up the pressure. Keep calling your senators to tell them to reject Kavanaugh's nomination. The number for the Senate switchboard, 202-224-3121. Repeat, Senate switchboard 202-224-3121. Make the call. And make no mistake, last week's hearings were all about power. On the one side, you've got the power of men who harass or abuse women and get away with it, the privilege of powerful men to entrench their power even more on the Supreme Court, the power of men to take away a woman's right to choose what she does with her body. On the other side, the power of women with the courage to tell what has happened to them, to demand an end to white male privilege, and to preserve and enlarge their constitutional rights. Look, whatever happens, I hope Kavanaugh's performance convinces a critical mass of American women to do what must be done November 6th, to give themselves a firm and clear voice in the Senate, in the rest of American government, to empower themselves at a time when the president, the majority of Congress, and a potential majority in the Supreme Court intend to disempower them. And it's not just women, it's men as well. Of course, Donald Trump is America's bully-in-chief. He's a larger version of Kavanaugh, privileged, entitled, a history of harassing and abusing women and getting away with it, lying through his teeth, fueling bigotry, violating the law with impunity, seeing presidential power as almost limitless, raging against anyone who calls him on his bullying. You see the connection between the personalities of Trump and Kavanaugh? Trump fulminates at critics, especially women critics, the way Kavanaugh did against Senator Amy Klobuchar, with utter disrespect. Yesterday, for just an example, after Trump appeared in the Rose Garden to announce a new trade deal, Trump asked for questions, and he called on ABC News' Cecilia Vega, and then said, before she had a chance to respond, she's shocked that I picked her, like in a state of shock. So Vega then began responding, I'm not, thank you, Mr. President, when Trump interrupted her to add, that's okay, I know you're not thinking, you never do. By evening yesterday, Trump was in Tennessee holding a campaign-style rally, once again blasting the press, blasting Democrats, blasting his critics. That's all we're getting from the Trump administration. That's all we're getting from Trump. There hasn't been a so-called daily press briefing for 29 out of the last 30 days. Since former Fox News executive, now here, connect the dots, former Fox News executive Bill Shine became White House Director of Communications 3 months ago, all we get is Trump's bullying. Like banning CNN White House reporter Caitlin Collins from a press event simply for asking what the White House termed inappropriate questions. The White House termed inappropriate questions. Not incidentally, you may recall Bill Shine was pushed out of Fox News over his handling of sexual harassment scandals at Fox. You see how all this fits together? Trump said today, this is a very scary time for young men in America, because the recent wave of sexual misconduct allegations against powerful figures. This is the man who 22 women have accused of sexual misconduct. Trump continues to deny all those allegations, calling the women liars. Yesterday he said the sexual misconduct allegations against Brett Kavanaugh were absolutely, he said, quote, absolutely influenced by the allegations that have been made against me. He said these false allegations against him were made by, quote, women who got paid a lot of money to make up stories about me. And then he alleged that the mainstream media refused to report on evidence that the accusations were made up. My friends, it's time to fight the bullies. It's time for the disempowered and dispossessed to reclaim the economic and political power that is rightfully theirs. And it starts now, this week, with Kavanaugh. It continues with the midterm elections November 6th. I think the people are rising. Just look at Beto O'Rourke in Texas, Stacey Abrams in Georgia, Andrew Gillum in Florida. They are inspiring voters not by moving to the center, but by speaking truth to power and building a coalition of voters who've been disempowered for decades. Over the weekend, O'Rourke held a concert with Willie Nelson in Austin that drew an estimated 55,000 people. We have to turn this momentum into votes. It's great to have huge turnouts in concerts, but we need huge turnouts at the ballot box. Every vote matters. Even if you live in a deep red or a solidly blue state or district, your vote matters. Now, if you still haven't registered to vote, make sure you do today. The registration deadline is quickly approaching, dozens of states. I want to just give this to you as a link, indivisible.turbovote.org. It'll help you if you're at all confused about how you register, where you register. If you think you're registered, verify your registration and make a plan to vote. Go to headcount.org/verify voter registration. Again, that's headcount.org, verify voter registration, so you know you are registered. Now, if you want to do more, encourage others to vote too. And there are many ways in which you can encourage others to vote. You can actually, if you want to, go out, go door to door. But there are many things you can do just on the telephone. Here is moveon.org/waves. Another very important internet link that will help you. moveon.org/waves. And now for your questions. Okay, we have Julia Tam. What is the best way to get people to vote? Julia, the best way to get people to vote is if people are motivated to vote. If they are hopeful or angry. Hope and anger have been proven to be the motivators. And Julia, I want to just make sure you know the largest party in America is the party of non-voters. Non-voters are much bigger than either the Democrats, registered Democrats, or registered Republicans, which means that this, particularly midterm elections, this midterm election is going to be determined by people who move from the party of non-voters to people who are voters. And this is critically important with regard to young people. And I want to just say this again. Young people, ages 18 to 29, young people, generally speaking, are not big voters. Young people 18 to 29, we need you more than ever. You need this, and you need to vote more than ever because this is your future. Bernadette Colacun, I think I pronounced it correctly. You say, I'm still shocked by Kavanaugh's performance. I thought it would be enough to disqualify him. Do you think so? No. Look, I want to be very crassly, narrowly political. What happens depends on the conclusions of Jeff Flake and also Lisa Murkowski and also Susan Collins and maybe Joe Manchin, a Democrat. Those 3 or 4 are going to determine whether Brett Kavanaugh has a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court, one of 9 justices who will be interpreting the Constitution and very likely deciding whether a woman continues to have a right over her own body. That's what this comes down to. It comes down to a handful, less than a handful, basically 3 or 4 senators. Clarence Thomas, do you think Kavanaugh will be voted onto the court? Clarence, again, it comes down to these basically 3 senators. And I would urge you to call, if you know anybody in Alaska or in Maine, just have your friends in Alaska and Maine. You have friends in Alaska and Maine, don't you? Even if you don't, if you know somebody who knows somebody in Alaska or Maine, call these senators, or you call the senators for wherever you are. Jamie Formisano, Joanne Formisano. What can older people do from their homes to help? Well, as I mentioned before, but I want to say it again, Joanne, there's a lot you can do from your phone, and from your home, rather, that is from your phone. And I want to particularly stress what moveon.org/waves. If you go there, Joanne, you can see a lot of things that you can do over the phone from your home. And I urge everyone to be an activist. You don't have to even be an activist. You can sit on your couch and be an activist because there are a lot of things you can do with your time. And this is a critical time. We're going to make it or break it this week and over the next 5 weeks leading up to the election. So I want to just say a special thanks to Sheda Ezemian, Omri Shir Dalal, and Andrew Santana. We'll see you next week.